This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be responding to my boy, the last father, Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, I see you with the Psychiatry Award. You guys know every time Mongolian Mindset drops a video, we send a motherfucker to the Psychiatry Award. So let's get into this. Mark Zuckerberg from Personality Database, Our Sworn Enemy, aka the Clown Brigade. They have Mark Zuckerberg as an INTJ. Okay. We're going to break him down today and find his real personality type using Linda Barrens metrics, temperament, and interaction styles, combined with some cognitive functions, and we'll figure out if he's an INTJ or not. 52% of our viewers are not subscribed. You guys could please subscribe. That helps us grow the channel. That helps us grow the group. And we're all about reinvesting into the group. One of our goals is to have the most accurate MBTI group on the planet so that we can further our knowledge, help friends, help family members, grow relationships, all of that. So go ahead and join. We are still doing free typing sessions. All you have to do is join the Facebook group and message the moderator, Cody, with your availability, and we will get that done. And shout out to Guitaro for his parody of me. That's quite hilarious. But yeah, so INTJs, let's get into that. They are pragmatic, which means they're rebellious. They're contrarians. They're independent. They're not talking about doing the right thing. They're talking about being effective, that type of thing. They like their freedom. They're systematic, so they like systems to control life or implement structures. They're progression, so they care about the journey of things and not the outcomes, the end product. They're responding, so they're introverted. They're direct, so they're specific, concise, and to the point. The NISE users, so they know the best path forward for themselves. They'll talk about what other people are doing. The TEFI users, so they're all about accomplishments and what's valuable to them. And they're abstract. Okay, they're going to be talking about the future, intangible things, contextual philosophies, things outside of the five senses. Okay. So yeah, let's get into it. Mark Zuckerberg. I love me some Mark Zuckerberg. I have like $25,000 in over 25,000 in Facebook stock. So we love Mark Zuckerberg over here. Get it done, Mark.
That like, if you think that something is going to be important, find a way to start working on it. There's only so much that you can really learn by thinking about something in the abstract. You really learn by like putting an idea out there and seeing how people.
Goddamn, Mark. Not even 10 seconds in and you're talking about taking the abstract to something real, man. Are you projecting here? I'm going to put you down for abstract on that one, because that's what abstract people do. They take an abstract idea and make it and bring it into the concrete world. Okay, he's talking about that now. He's talking about taking action. That's SE. Oh my God, he's projecting.
People use it.
Mark Zuckerberg, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Dude, I'm very excited to have you. So as I was saying before we started rolling, I am obsessed with the metaverse, and about a little over a year ago, we pivoted our company to be entirely focused on Web3. I don't use the word metaverse a lot just because I worry that it's quite a ways off. But the core principles of what you're doing, I think, really align with my vision of where this goes anyway. And so looking at the massive investments that you guys are making into the space, it seems like a no-brainer that you guys, even though the metaverse obviously will be built by a lot of people, that you guys will be arguably the largest individual contributor. There's a lot of parts and pieces though. So how do you think about the metaverse? What is it? And what are the steps to make it real?
So Tom is talking about steps. That's progression.
So the way I think about this, I mean, I think you're right. I think the metaverse and Web3 are related concepts, but are also distinct. The metaverse, I think of as...
This guy's coming off the rack. Okay, he's coming off the rack. We're going to put an asterisk side of it. We won't, but he's coming off the rack.
An immersive internet, sort of the next chapter of the internet after the mobile internet, the successor, if you will. There's always a platform that comes next, and
he's talking about the future here, abstract, future focus.
I think that the metaverse is going to be that, and I think that the defining characteristic of it is that you'll be able to feel like you're present with other people in it. And if you're designing social interactions and kind of platforms for people to...
Designing. Systematic. Okay.
To interact with each other, which is basically what I spend my life doing. The ability to help people feel present with another person, and all that goes into that, right? It's, feeling like you're there, feeling like you can see people's expressions clearly, like you can make eye contact, like you can kind of physically
you. He's going on a you rant here. Cut it out, Mark. That's SE.
Which is basically what I spend my life doing. The ability to help people feel present with another person, and all that goes into that, right? It's, feeling like you're there, feeling like you can see people's expressions clearly, like you can make eye contact, like you can physically interact, hear where they're coming from, spatial audio, be able to express yourself in 3 dimensions, all of these things that go into a feeling of presence.
Express yourself, 3 dimensions, abstract, this guy.
I just think is going to deliver way better social experiences and a feeling of togetherness than any other technology that we've had before. And we try to kind of simulate that on phones and other screens that we have.
I'll go ahead and give him an FE point for togetherness.
We're doing this, and right now, and I can see you on a screen. It's nice, and functionally I can see your face, so that's nice. But I don't think neither of us is under any illusion that we're we don't feel like we're together. So I just think in the future, whether you're in
abstract again,
virtual reality or augmented reality, and maybe we do a version of this conversation in the future where I'm a hologram on the couch next.
God damn, this guy's killing abstract already. So he's abstract. With that being said, being abstract eliminates half of the board. Okay, being abstract, that means he can only be an INFP, ENFP, INTP, ENTP, ENTJ, INTJ, ENFJ, and INFJ. He can only be those types because those are the only abstract types. This guy's clearly future focused. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back.
Next to you, and you can see that through your glasses, or any of the other platforms that are getting built. I think that's going to be just to unlock a lot of new social experiences. And then on top of that, you're going to be able to do all kinds of new forms of entertainment, new types of hanging out, more physical types of computing, like things around fitness that don't really make sense on mobile phones or computers today. And I think it's going to transform work too, right? Because you'll just be able to walk anywhere you want and snap your fingers and have your perfect workstation up. And then if you want to collaborate with someone, they'll kind of show up as an avatar or a hologram next to you, and you have that too. So that set of things is how I think about the metaverse, and I think you're
metaverse
right.
Abstract. Okay, this guy.
That we're certainly investing more than anyone else is in this. There's a lot of science that needs to still get solved. A lot of this isn't just engineering questions around, all right, let's go build stuff over the next few years. They're actually unsolved questions that need to get worked through, and we have kind of hypotheses on how that might work, but for a lot of the hard
hypotheses, abstract
questions we have, 5, 6, 7 teams, trying to take different bets on it, and we'll see what works. So that's an important part of it.
And we'll see what works. That's pragmatic.
I do think that will end up being an important contribution to the whole field, and I'm excited that we're doing that.
As a builder in the space, and the space is moving so rapidly, I'm constantly asking myself, am I focused on the right piece? So as you develop these, 6 or 7 teams, how do you decide which problem you're going to tackle? So obviously you're starting with your thesis, you're about bringing people together, so presence plays a huge role for you. But how did you decide how to balance VR versus AR or AI? How do you know in what order to attack this multitude of problems?
Yeah.
He's talking about order, TE. Damn, Tom, didn't we type your INTJ?
I think that's a really great question. And, we're taking a fairly first principles and maximalist approach to this of
pragmatic yet again, utilitarian mindset.
Basically saying, what are all the things that we think need to exist in order to build this software experience? I mean,
abstract.
At the end of the day, we are a software company. We build technology that helps people interact with each other that way. But we feel like we've run into all these limits in terms of what you can do on a phone or on a computer or just a flat screen. So from that perspective, I think that these immersive platforms for hardware around virtual or augmented reality are going to be really fundamental. And then there's all these different technologies that need to be advanced there. So in order to get holographic displays, I mean, no one's built anything like that before, with the, at the level of quality and kind of field of view that you need and resolution, much less in the form factor, which is like a normal pair of glasses. So there are just all these different parts of that you need to work on. So it's not just one problem at a time. I think
it's progression. This guy's progression. He's breaking it down. He's not looking at the end product here.
When I was getting started in building Facebook,
you can clearly see the road there.
18 years ago, when you're a small team, I think you do things one thing at a time. Now, if I had to say what is the part of what we're doing that's the most important, it would probably be the social platform work, the Horizon work that we're doing, and the avatars work to help people express themselves. But fundamentally, I don't think that stuff will reach its full potential without also a lot of invention that needs to happen in virtual and augmented reality to be able to experience this. So we're also working on display technology and things like eye tracking and face tracking, so that when you're in VR, you can actually make eye contact with someone, or when you smile.
He's going you again. Okay, this guy's omega abstract. He's direct too. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say he's direct and abstract. With that being said, if he's direct and abstract, he can only be a ENFJ, INFJ, INTJ, and the ENTJ. Okay, he can only be those four. Okay, it's looking like he's an SENI user. They're both SENI, so it doesn't even matter. But what we are noticing is that he's pragmatic in progression. So most likely that's going to leave him as an INTJ. And this guy's starting to sound like Dario Nardi. He's starting to sound like Dario Nardi.
Or, move your face around, that gets translated to your avatar automatically. And those are things that are going to be in the next VR headset that we're releasing. Or hand tracking.
So this guy is so future focused, it's not even funny.
You don't have to carry controllers around with you everywhere that you go, which I think is...
And you can tell that he's going in flow with the future. He's going in flow with it. Like, he's getting excited about it. Like, as in, if you listen to a SI user, they get excited and go in the flow when they're talking about the past. And that is from Dario Nardi's work.
Controls are good for some things. Just like how on your iPad you have a stylus. It's good for precise input. But
this guy sounds like Dario Nardi. What? We're pulling them up. We're pulling Dario up. Pull up the interview. This guy sounds like Dario Nardi. This guy is sounding like Dario fucking Nardi.
Subtype 45 range. They diversify a lot depending upon what careers they go into, what they do. In coaching INTJs over the years, knowing INTJ friends, I know we go into many different careers. And in fact, we tend to become more multidisciplinary, especially in...
Does he not sound like Dario Nardi?
So seeing people...
He sounds like Dario Nardi. I know Dario Nardi is not going to like that.
Like the creation of media, for example, like film, music...
He sounds exactly like Dario Nardi. It's fucking crazy. Let's continue.
I don't think we're gonna, in the future version of your glasses that you're wearing, where
look at him, he is beating the hell out of that future focus boy. Woo!
Those can produce holograms and augmented reality. I assume you're not going to be carrying around controllers with you all the time, right? So you need some combination.
Tell me, it doesn't sound like Dario, man. It's scary.
A kind of hand tracking, which is advanced. It's some combination of AI and computer vision to basically be able to in real time track where each of your fingers are and be able to interact that way. But there are other types of inputs too because you don't also want to walk around through the world and kind of have your hands in front of you all the time. So we're working on stuff like these neural interfaces where you just have this.
Excuse that. Let's go ahead and push that through a little bit.
Yeah. And I know many INTJs, like, we see we can go socially for a while, and then all of a sudden, in like 1 minute, the psyche is like, now you need to leave, or shut down, or like recharge, whatever it is.
Scary, man. It's freaking scary.
Wristband. I mean, this I think is actually one of the wilder things that we're working on, where there are a lot of we could go pretty deep on neural interfaces if you wanted to. I mean, there's a whole different ways that you can kind of get at how can you make it so that your mind can kind of speak to a computer. The solution that we've sort of come to is it's called EMG, and you do it on the wrist, which is the basic idea is that we all have.
This guy's omega abstract.
Extra motor neuron pathways to communicate from our brain down to our muscles, right? So there are actually all these different pathways that you could be using to communicate to control your hand, but they're redundant or unused for different reasons. And you can train yourself to basically use them to communicate to a wristband or a computer, typing different letters or different things like that. So eventually you'll just kind of have this little thing. It looks like a little Fitbit or
that was progression eventually.
Wristband, and you'll be able to type quickly by barely even moving your fingers when they're in your pocket or something like that. So there are all these different things. So
omega abstract.
It's going back to your question, I don't think it's just like one thing or another. It wouldn't be that useful if we made a lot of progress on holographic displays, but then you had no way to tell the glasses what you
talking about progression there. A lot of progression
you wanted to do. So it really is this pretty open-ended thing, which is why we're investing 10 or 15 billion dollars a year in this at this point.
That's so crazy. Just like the internet changed the world forever.
But I don't know. Honestly, I wish more companies did that, right? Because there are a lot of profitable companies in the world, and I'm just glad that we can kind of keep on innovating on the core social network part of what we do, but also kind of funnel a lot of that into helping to hopefully define the next generation of what computing and social interaction is going to be.
Dude, it's clear as day this guy is an INTJ, but you know what? We gotta confirm it. Okay, we got one more point for progression and SENI, and yeah, he's gonna be an INTJ.
No, I totally agree, especially about the idea of, hey, it'd be wonderful if more people did it. I think there's a couple, things going on here. So one, if we step back, even just trying to give a really succinct definition of what the metaverse is, I think is very hard. And the reason I think it's hard, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this, but the reason I think it's hard is that when you talk to somebody who's really visionary in this space, what they end up keying into is that the virtual world sheds the need for obedience to physics. You can do anything. You've talked about, you won't need a physical TV anymore, because I can just project a screen that will appear as if it's on your wall, or it can surround you, or it can start being on your wall and then surround you. And so we're no longer beholden to what we can mount on the wall, what can be manufactured in the manufacturing space. And so when people talk about this, they start with, okay, we need glasses and we have to, make things smaller so that they fit. And they end up talking about, eventually we're plugging into your brain in some fashion, whether it's, on your wrist and just reading.
All right, so Tom just went through progression.
The electrical signals, or actually doing like a Neuralink style thing. So to begin to narrow it down, because what I know in my own business is eventually I have to translate that grand vision into what I'm going to do with the next 15 minutes. And so as I look at where you guys are going, and you've broken things out into product lines, obviously keying off of the mission of helping people communicate and connect better, but you have a lot of different strategies that you're pursuing. So I want to start to understand, like, what are the near-term horizons? And then I said there were two things. The second thing is, and we'll take these individually, but the second thing is overwhelm, man. Like, I want to spend some time later in the interview just talking about how the hell you look at this massive problem and figure out, one, how to sequence those 15-minute blocks so that you're actually doing something intelligent
Regression
with your time. not being overwhelmed when the world's like, this is never going to work, Mark, you're crazy. So starting with the first one for a second, how do you begin to, what do you think is the nearest term? What's going to be the first one to pop? Is it Horizon? Is it AR glasses? What's going to be that immediate thing that hooks us?
Yeah, sure. But even before that, just to, you made this comment about how it's hard to define what the metaverse is. I mean, I would just offer my definition of this is in an immersive internet where you can feel a sense of presence with the people who you're with and the things or places that are around you.
I'm going to push on one word in that definition that I think will help people.
Yeah, sure.
Internet. What do you mean? Like when you say an immersive internet, meaning that everything's interconnected, that I can shop.
Why does Mark look so uncomfortable on camera?
And talk to a friend, I can listen to music or something else?
Well, I mean that is in the sense that, we have this mobile internet today that you can access from phones wherever you go. But the way that we experience the internet today is that you're looking at it, right? It's on screens in front of us. And
you are looking at it.
I think that this next generation, you're going to be in it, right? So instead of...
these guys are SENI, come on.
Of basically looking at a document, maybe you'll have a hologram in front of you that has a screen and you're going to be able to be editing it with someone who's sitting next to you, and it'll feel like you're in the scene rather than...
Yeah, see some more, and that's abstract future focus. That's some more NI, dude. This guy's NI like crazy. So yeah, that would... Let's keep going.
Then you just kind of have a phone or have a computer and kind of the internet is something that's on a screen in front of you. You're going to be immersed and present with the people who are there, right? So at the point where you're at your dining room table and someone has a hologram next to you, are you looking at the internet, or are you kind of in that scene at that point? I think that's the sense of presence that I'm talking about. And then all this other stuff about breaking down physics, I think comes from that. But the sense of presence is really the fundamental defining characteristic of the metaverse, I think. It's, and that is, I just think in our personal interactions, that's the thing that just creates a lot of magic and is so unique compared to every other form of communication that we have. So I think having a computing platform that can deliver that is just really meaningful if the vision of what you're doing is to try to help people connect better. So, going back to your question around what pieces are we going to see first, I think, it's an interesting question in that I think when you're kind of a startup, your framework of doing something for 15 minutes, then doing something for 15
that's systematic.
15 minutes after that, I think that sort of hyper prioritized serialization is the right way to think about things.
Serialization, that's TE, and that's systematic.
I think somewhat of the art of running a larger enterprise is parallelism and being able to do a bunch of different things. So I think that's been a big change.
God, he's fucking with my brain. He sounds like Dario Nardi. He's fucking with my brain. It's like...
Of how I think about running a company or what we're doing that I've needed to adapt to over time, because there is something that's just really fulfilling about being able to do a thing and then get feedback that it's done correctly and then kind of go do the next thing.
Progression.
And whereas parallelism, it's so abstract. You're like working on a handful of different things, and they're each sort of on a longer time frame, and you don't necessarily get as much feedback. So you need to be a lot better about finding signals that show that the work is either on track or not, so you can say, hey, this one's not going well, I need to go check in on that. In terms of, what are people going to see first?
That was a system. That was progression as well.
The Quest VR headsets are getting quite popular, right? So that, I think, was the first thing that we shipped as part of Reality Lab.
Talking about it's getting popular, it's TFI.
That has had some mainstream success. I mean, it's not as big as a phone or a computer yet, but the jump from Quest 1 to Quest 2 in terms of sales was very big. We're going to continue shipping devices at a pretty fast cadence. The basic way that we're thinking about this is we want to have basically a consumer device in the price range of where Quest 1 and Quest 2 have been, But then we also want to have a work device, basically something that will eventually replace your laptop or your workstation at work.
I mean, I don't need to be hammered in a nail. That's NI and that's abstract.
Where you'll be able to do productivity in it, where that gets to the experience of like you're at your desk and you can just kind of open your arms and get your...
You can do this, you can do that, SE.
A perfect workstation, get as many screens as big as you want laid out. Collaborations, that way you can kind of feel like you're there with people you're working with, and they can either show up as avatars or holograms, or one of the screens in VR can be a screen to access Zoom.
You see how vividly this man can tap into the future in his head? That shows.
People who aren't in VR can basically just show up on your desk or at the head of the table when you're in a conference room meeting with other people in VR. So I think you're going to get productivity, collaboration, a bunch of that kind of stuff.
Productivity, that's TE. Man, I mean, it's crazy to see just how on next level his NI is. It's next level.
You're going to have this consumer line for VR, and you're going to have this work line. We're going to ship the first version of this work line later this year. This is basically what Project Cambria is. I talked about it at Connect last year. It has a lot of new features in it, from color mixed reality to eye tracking and face tracking, like we talked about before, for being able to make eye contact and have your facial expressions just translate to your avatar automatically. So I think there are going to be a bunch of things that are a big step forward. But I think the bottom line is you kind of need two, because I think a person who's going to use the device mostly just for hanging out or playing games, I don't know, maybe they probably wouldn't want to pay necessarily $1,000 for a device. But if you're replacing your workstation with it, then I know a lot of companies would be willing to pay that amount or even more to have something that increases. If I could increase the productivity of every...
That was pragmatic and productivity as TFI again. Okay, he's INTJ. Mark Zuckerberg is INTJ. Sounds like Dario Nardi. So Personality Database got this correct. Mark Zuckerberg is an INTJ. Let's go back to the chart. So what we noticed about Mark Zuckerberg is that he's very future focused. Like, it's not even relevantly close at all. He's also direct. Okay, if he's direct and abstract, that limited down to 4 types: ENFJ, INTJ, INFJ, and ENTJ. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg, what we noticed from there, they're both SE and I users, so it doesn't matter about that. But Mark Zuckerberg's a TFI user. He's talking about productivity. He's talking about systems. He's talking about that type of thing, and he's talking about the progression. He's talking about the journey of things. He's not talking about outcomes. He's literally breaking it down to where step by step he can arrive to his conclusion. He has the roadmap in his head of how to get there. So yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is an INTJ, and wow, he sounds just like Dario Nardi. That's crazy. But this is Mongolian Mindset, and we're out.